it's bad, I'm going to replace it anyways, inspect and clean the ass. So if it's good, then it gets clean, and then I re-oil, and it should be good. Easier to inspect. A lot of times, cleaning or inspection goes pretty quick. Looks pretty good. Looking for obvious damage to the boot. Looking for leaks, dust in the seals in here, right on the edges. If anything's coming out, then it can obviously come back in. I'm looking around the clamps and the clips, making sure that I don't see any jagged edges, any tears, any compromises from impacts. Honestly, it looks pretty good. And while we're here, I'm gonna bleed. That looks good. That's clean. Swap out some fluid, clean it. This is gonna come off. So when we get the A-arm in, so I want to clean up some of these attachment points, fasteners. Make them a little easier to take it apart. Rotors feel good. The pads have life, and I don't see anything to undo. Once we're driving it and stuff, we'll get a better idea if there's any major issues. Once we get the A-arm in, then we'll do a wheel alignment, do a quick tie rod adjustment, at least for toe adjustment. This corner looks pretty good. Go ahead and slap the tire back on here, I think. See this left back corner. See if we can. Dirty. I don't see any problems. Boots still feel good. They're not dry, hard, pliable. Just hasn't been serviced in a long time, and they actually don't beat it up too bad. Nice folks. Happy to kind of spend a little bit more time than I normally would just kind of cleaning it up, because I don't really think I'm going to run into any other problems or surprises. I'll kind of zoom in on this corner and show you kind of what we're looking at. And we'll talk to the owners, just get their opinion. But I think that for the nature of how everything else has been going on this, I think is just an indicative of a 20-year-old bike. Let's see if I can just turn just a touch. So here's what we're looking at here. Depending on application, and part of something I try to do is make sure that I am hearing I'm hearing what the goals from the customer are, because my goals aren't necessarily their goals, right? As a person who may or may not, have some level of comfort just working on this. Sorry, I'm kind of waving this all over the place. That's awful. Okay. So what we're looking at here, you can see on the boot itself, I mean, it feels good, and I don't see any problems, concerns anywhere in the boot itself. I mean, some of this you can start to see some little wear lines and things like that, but I don't see anything compromised. We'll oil that back up and it should be just fine. But what we're looking at is, do you see the grease kind of poking out the bottom of the boot? That's your first indication usually that you're going to have a failure. Obviously the grease is coming from somewhere, and really, when you rebuild an axle, you pack that sucker full of grease. So even little drips like that isn't going to cause any major operational concerns. This set doesn't have any leaks or anything of any note. So I'm just going to let them know that I saw a little touch here. We'll go ahead and wipe this down, clean it up. And what we will likely do is just make a note on the project report. And then in the spring, we'll kind of check the condition specifically of this corner and that boot. And at some point, probably replace at least the boot, service the axle, rebuild, something like that. But left side looks good. That was good. So doing the inspection on this right rear. I haven't pulled the axle yet, just kind of cleaning things up and get all the service or fluids dealt with today, get it back running. Looking at this outer, let me see if I can get this set right. Looking at this outer boot, I've kind of wiped it and cleaned it up some. There's a lot of just kind of caked on dirt. But if you look here, maybe I'll see if I can zoom in a touch. Okay, somewhere in here, right around this edge, you can see that the grease is, it's kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. I feel like when grease starts picking up dirt particles and moisture, and it builds like the chemical term is a colloid of some sort, so kind of suspended particles, it firms it up. Think like aggregate and cement to make concrete. Once you start seeing this grease get kind of firm, obviously it's been leaking. Not a big surprise if this boot is gone. We're gonna have to rebuild the entire axle and then do a full inspection. Right now everything turns okay, and I don't hear any weird noises. I don't feel any free play in the axle. So I think we might have caught it early, but we'll see. The thing that I wanted to show you when I was doing the inspection is it looks like there was a rock impact here. You can kind of see how the clamp has got kind of a little wowie in it. I think that's probably an FFG technical term. This is part of the band, but right after there, you can see the dirt and the grease, and you can feel it with your finger. I know you can't see it there, but as a result, the edge of this boot is kind of kinked. I think that's probably what has caused our grease leak. I'm going to reach out to the owners and then recommend a full boot on this axle upon the rebuild. And I think I might have to tear that open completely just to inspect this axle before we actually do the order. But just giving you a heads up, kind of some of the stuff that I see. Hope it helps.